royal giants of the air come to roost. They come from over the oceans, across the continents, from round the world. Bearing the proud insignia of a dozen airlines, they lumber along the taxiways, putting thousands of people every day of the year to and from the international terminal at Kingsford Smith Airport, Australia's gateway to the world. Some travellers step straight over the threshold into the municipality of Rockdale, a beach-fringed, sun-filled front garden to the southern continent. Many stay, bringing with them new cultures, new outlooks to our changing community, exposed to the influences of a shrinking world. One of these visitors to Rockdale was the distinguished leader of the British Conservative Party, Mr. Edward Heath, who landed here during 1968 with a message from the people of Bexley in England. At a civic reception, the Mayor, Alderman Gosling, warmly welcomed Mr. Heath and said that in visiting Bexley, he was preserving an historical link that goes back many years to the very beginnings of the municipality. He then presented Mr. Heath with the history of the district. Handing over a painting of Hall Place, Bexley in England to the council in Rockdale, Mr. Heath said that this link with the history of the two Bexleys proves that the world is shrinking. He came from one Bexley to the other in a matter of hours. He met some older residents who remember when the voyage took months. The Nappers were among the first to settle the swamps and forests that stretched back from Botany Bay. Bill Napper remembers those early days.
Rockdale, in the early days, was known as the Vegetable Bowl of Sydney. This was brought about because the land between Cooks River and Georges River was particularly suitable for vegetable growing. But not much progress was made by the early pioneers until a road was built across Cooks River. Once this was built, the area began to develop fairly rapidly, but the roads were in such a deplorable state that it was almost impossible for the pioneers to get their vegetables to the Sydney market without a lot of trouble. This led to Mr. Charles Napper petitioning the government of the day for local government for this area. That petition was signed by all the early pioneers in this area and resulted in local government being granted. One of the first job of the new council was to try and improve the roads. The main road then was known as Rocky Point Road, leading from Crooks River to Sans Souci, now known as Prince's Highway. This road was in such a deplorable state that the early settlers had to break down branches of trees and lay across the road in front of the Rockdale Town Hall to stop their vehicles from being bogged.
The change from bridle track to traffic artery has been repeated throughout the district. This road, which began as a bullock track leading to the great forests of Hurstville, became Forest Road at the beginning of the century. Off this now busy thoroughfare, just round the corner in Halley Avenue, is the Preddy home. They too were pioneers of the district. We spoke to Mrs. Preddy of her childhood in Rockdale.
I first came to Bexley 38 years ago as a bride. My very first memories of Bexley were as a young child of about 8 years old. My father had a buggy, and we used to drive past here on a Saturday, which was quite a day's trip, and he used to point out the Kinsler home and the Preddy's home. And the Kinslers' home was from Kinsler Grove down to the hotel, and Preddy's Road was from here down to Preddy's Road. And Kinsler Grove and Bisborough, which were the names of the old homes, were really beautiful. They were magnificent. They were set back in beautiful ground. Well, the Kinslers came originally from the north of Ireland, and Grandfather Kinsler had his own family crest, and he bred racehorses. And the Preddys came from England, and they bought up much land in Bexley, but eventually sold it to the council at a small cost, and it was subdivided into different properties, and they gave the Bexley Park to the council. The Preddys have been in Bexley for many generations, and my grandchildren John, Mark and Katrina, the 5th generation born in Bexley.
The first settlers were British. Now, more and more people from many different nations, from all walks of life, are making their homes in Rockdale. With every naturalisation ceremony, these changes in the community become more noticeable. From Greece and Italy, from Holland, Indonesia and Yugoslavia, these new Australians and their children are being accepted into the community. They're learning to adapt to a new way of life, a life often vastly different to the one they left behind. The transfer of allegiance from one country to another means the acceptance of a new set of laws, a new set of values, a new set of neighbours. For adults, this can be a difficult task. Those that reap the full benefit are the children. Already up to 65% of the children attending some schools in the municipality are new Australians. They face the task of learning to speak and think in English. The written word must be understood, and therefore libraries have a vital part to play in the service of our changing community. At the official opening of the Bexley North Branch Library, it was pointed out that libraries are storehouses of the whole world's knowledge. And in this country, all that knowledge is free for the asking. In these surroundings, the peoples of different countries and cultures are being brought closer together, towards a better understanding of each other's needs and thoughts. Mayor Alderman Gosling pointed out that there were now 3 branch libraries and a mobile library operating within the municipality. Literature serves the peoples of all nations. Music speaks with an international tongue. Puccini's operas have a message for everyone. A performance of Madame Butterfly is honoured with the presence of the Premier of New South Wales, the Honourable R.W. Askin, MLA, and his party, who were guests of the Mayor at a sparkling event, understood and appreciated by every nationality in the cosmopolitan audience. Rockdale Council is always ready to assist in the district's sporting activities. In establishing the Bardwell Valley Golf Course, it again plays an important part in developing new and improved facilities for the use of a sports-minded community. Barton Park, which was once almost 100 acres of low-lying land, is now being reclaimed to provide several new sports fields. The council is filling the muddy swamps with industrial wastes. This is levelled, top-dressed and turfed to provide more playing areas, and at no cost to the ratepayers. Opposite Barton Park, on the shores of Muddy Creek, the Brighton Fishermen's Club, with its modern clubhouse, has every facility to assist the keen fishermen. Moorings recently deepened, mechanical slipways, boat repair equipment, even a patrol boat. Everything, except the catch. And there's fish aplenty in the quiet waters off Botany Bay. The new St. George Police Citizens Boys Club building nears completion. Designed specifically for the benefit of the younger generation, the club's activities will be programmed to encourage physical fitness and mental alertness. Basic training for the citizens of tomorrow. And Rockdale citizens have a wealth of playing areas in which to grow up. This one is Gardiner Park, home ground and headquarters of the St George District Hockey Club. Many times champions of the Sydney Metropolitan District, they've built a new clubhouse, officially opened by the Mayor, Alderman Gosling, in September 1966. 3 St George hockey clubs were hosts. Their special guests for the weekend were the Tigers Hockey Club from Taree in northern New South Wales. This was a day to remember, especially for Mr Herb Fibbins, Mr Hockey himself, who thanked the large crowd for the zeal with which they participated in the grand sport of hockey. There are clubs for boys and girls, for young and old. You can play the game almost from the cradle to the grave. Women take their place on the sports field. Bowlers at the Elizabethan Bowling Club could be well surprised at its link with the past.
The land on which the Elizabethan Bowling Club now stands was the original homestead of the late Charles Napper. At his death, it passed into the hands of his son and then his daughter Gladys, who sold it about 6 years ago to the Elizabethan Bowling Club.
There have been many national and international tournaments held in the municipality. You'll remember that the first World's Bowls Championship was held on the New South Wales Leagues Club greens at Kaima. Bowlers from many countries were welcomed by the Mayor. The host nation was proud that this colourful occasion was under viceregal patronage. The Mayor formally greets His Excellency, the Governor of New South Wales, Sir Roden Cutler. Among the many champions, David Bryant of England chose the faultless style that made him champion bowler of the world. The waves of change that have spread across the community have stretched out to the waters of Botany Bay. The government's plans for the extensions to Kingsford Smith Airport include a giant game of put and take, requiring the suction of thousands of tons of sand from the bottom of the bay and putting back thousands of tons of rock and concrete to form a new runway extending hundreds of yards from the shore. So as not to interfere with the traffic flow on Rockdale's Bayside Highway, it was necessary to depress the roadway and construct a tunnel 2/3 of a mile long, with a roof of steel and concrete 4 feet thick, on which the jumbo jets of the future can land their huge loads in perfect safety. The debate as to whether the major reshaping of Botany Bay threatens the foreshores is still unfinished. But in May 1968, rain-lashed and wind-whipped, Brighton Beach was severely damaged. 3 days later, as the now quiet waters glistened in the sun, council engineers could assess the damage to the beachfront. Rubble from the Bardwell Valley, where the golf course was being extended, was used to protect the beach and adjoining picnic areas. They also reinforced large areas of Brighton Beach to ensure that it would never again suffer such extensive damage. Now, Brighton Beach is, once more, a favourite family picnic spot. Over the years, Council has encouraged general beautification of the municipality through several carefully planned programmes. One such project, Plant a Tree Month, is held annually. Following recommendations by the Forestry Commission, every householder is offered one small tree, which they may plant on their property. The great success of these programs is reflected throughout the district and in the numerous parks and gardens to be found at every corner of Rockdale. The face of Rockdale is continually changing. To meet the demands of a rapidly growing population, the Council is constantly initiating projects to expand and develop new community services. Housing is of first importance. The Rockdale Council was the first in the state to approve villa-style homes. The State Minister for Housing, the Honourable S.T. Stevens, MLA, opened Villa Solander in August 1967. Combining the advantages of an apartment unit with those of a house, these villas have proved extremely popular, and already over 100 more have been built. Modern homes have dramatically changed the rock face of the old quarry in the Bardwell Valley. For many years, the Council limited high-rise housing to 3 levels. Recently, it authorised for the first time a block rising to 8 levels. A new style of housing for older people is nearing completion at Arncliffe. Set in the grounds of one of the gracious old homes of the district, these units have been carefully designed to allow residents maximum ease and comfort of living. Not only housing, but many other community projects are altering the landscape. Council's engineers deal with many problems, even mining. This tunnel, driven under Rocky Point Road at Sans Souci, is the first stage of a major stormwater channel to drain low-lying areas. There are now more than 180 miles of roads in the municipality. Kingsland Road is part of the continuing program of road construction and improvement. The Seven Ways in the heart of the district has always been a traffic hazard. Council has not only succeeded in bringing about improvement of the flow of vehicles at this point, but will complete this busy complex of thoroughfares by the installation of a war memorial fountain. The environment that surrounds Rockdale is physically changing. The new International Terminal building is part of a complex that will cater for air traffic so great that the present runway extending out into the bay must be lengthened and later duplicated. Perhaps the most significant change that has ever affected the municipality is at present in the planning stage. And because of its location, Rockdale is vitally concerned. This model indicates the scope of the proposed changes. On the foreshores, the Maritime Services Board is building a $1 million hydraulic testing complex to study the wave action on future port and airport developments. Great areas of the eastern shores of Botany Bay have already been allocated to the needs of heavy industry. Despite the economic and industrial advantages this redevelopment may bring to our changing community, the Council's first duty is to the people who live within its boundaries. Council will ensure that Rockdale will always be a pleasant place in which to live.